Hey everybody, it's Party Elite, and today we find ourselves kicking off what's going to be a very exciting month in strategy gaming. As we enter the release window for all sorts of games and DLC, I thought it'd be a good idea to, in rapid-fire form, compile some of the most notable things happening in strategy gaming over the next few weeks in one video. Naturally, I can't cover every nook and cranny, but with the growing prevalence of indie games and the increased output of DLC and backer builds, so I'm highlighting what has me most interested, and I'm hoping you can let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments down below. I'm always looking to highlight more interesting strategy games on the channel, no matter the subgenre. So, without further ado, here's a look at strategy games in November 2018. Phoenix Point, the brand new and exciting turn-based tactical game, is still in development, but backers of the game have been getting access to backer builds. The first two builds came just a couple months apart, but we've had a fairly long gap between the previous one and the third one set to come out sometime in November. Rather than just working out some minor kinks in the previous builds or making some minor additions, the latest backer build should be quite a leap forward in feature inclusion, hence the long delay. So far, we've been able to play against a handful of enemies with a couple of environment types and only a handful of weapons and unit archetypes, including the armored personnel carrier. Over the past few weeks, we've seen the Phoenix Point Twitter burst with life, hinting at lots of new enemy types, showing off lots of new animations, and all of this with a good sense of humor to boot. But the cherry on top of the backer build number 3 cake is a very big cherry. We will finally be able to see and play with the overarching strategic layer of the game. This has been the part I've been most excited to see. The tactical level certainly has its differentiators, but all of the games in this subgenre start to resemble each other unless the strategic layer really does something amazing. Keep your eyes on this channel if you're not a backer yourself. I'll definitely be covering the new build the moment it comes out. On the topic of turn-based tactical games, Galaxy Squad describes itself as a hardcore turn-based tactical game inspired by FTL and XCOM, releasing on November 2nd after some time in early access. A sci-fi space-based game, we're going to be exploring multiple systems, fighting a great variety of enemy types, and upgrading our ship, all while partaking in a story-driven campaign that involves our characters and branching storylines. It sounds like the characters evolve with a point-buy system rather than a class-based system, allowing you to grow attached to individuals who develop as you need them to, not as they're destined to. You'll also fear their loss with a hardcore mode that enables permadeath, putting some real stakes to the gameplay. A one-man show, if I'm not mistaken, it's definitely worth keeping your eyes on if you're looking for your next fix of turn-based tactical gaming. Next up, we have the Curse of the Vampire Coast DLC arriving on the shores of Total War Warhammer 2 on November 8th. This DLC will be adding 4 new factions themed around pirate zombies, bringing with them bloated corpses, reanimated walking giant ships, and giant enemy crabs, among other horrifying things, of course. All 4 factions are led by their unique legendary lords, all plucked from pre-existing Warhammer fantasy lore, bar one, Celostra Direfin, a ghostly new addition seeing her debut in Warhammer 2, written by Warhammer Fantasy veteran writer Andy Hall. A new magical lore for use on the battlefield is being introduced as well, and the 4 factions' starting positions on the campaign map should make for fun, added variety across the board for everyone. While the DLC looks very promising, and I do have a lot of coverage on this channel already that you might want to check out, I am going to reserve full judgment until I get my hands on the DLC. Hopefully that'll be an early copy within the next week or so before it releases. Foundation, the charming medieval city builder I first laid eyes on a few weeks ago, is going to get its second content update for the early alpha it's currently flaunting. This new content pack might include our first look at weaponsmiths and guards, including new parts to play with when making the wooden keep structure. The guards are supposed to provide protection and prevent robbery, so might we see relevant structures to law keeping finally added? We might also see a new mission type, one that requires sending soldiers over to other cities. The Monastery Monument should also get some additional functionality, with the extra parts being made active, contributing members of society, and the Hunting Lodge and its relevant occupation of hunter will be added in this new build as well, adding yet another raw material or two to the supply chain. We're likely to see meat and hides come from a good hunt, most likely of deer. We might see hunting get its own zoning, much like farming, and I would like to think that a hunter needs to send materials to a tanner that needs to send materials to a tailor to make heavier leather coats for worse off weather. Might we also get something to help make fur-based attire? I don't know, it would make for an interesting chain, that's for sure, but I don't think we'll be seeing the whole thing in this upcoming build, even if it's something being considered in the first place. Either way, this is definitely something I'll be covering as it comes out. The great organic approach to city building immediately hooked me, and I can't wait to see this game evolve. Crusader Kings 2 will get its next big DLC update on the 13th of November with the release of Holy Fury. Nearly a year after the release of Jade Dragon, we're seeing Paradox come back to its character-driven strategy game to add a great deal of depth to aspects of the game that have been around since release many years ago. Religion, both pagan and otherwise, takes center stage this time around, and we're going to see everything from religious foundations to coronation ceremonies to reworked crusades. Pagan faiths have been reworked quite heftily as well, giving them a chance to stand against the test of time and organized modern religions, while we're also going to see battle and duel events completely reworked. There really is way too much to talk about within the scope of this video, but it looks like one of the major DLCs that will definitely be worth getting. Once again, I'll reserve judgment till I actually spend some time with it, and I'm considering reviewing the DLC when it releases, though I hope to get some early coverage on it as well. Deus Vult and all that. Surviving Mars, yet another charming city builder, is going to get its first piece of DLC in the form of Space Race, releasing on November 15th. Whether you just get the DLC or you pair it with the colony design set sold separately for 25 new buildings, you're going to see rival space colonies compete with you for the limited resources and the various milestones. Sponsors that you pick before launching your mission to Mars are given extra weight with unique building options, challenges, and milestones, and 2 new sponsors are available, with Japan and Brazil joining the space race. I'm personally excited to see how the game takes on a more competitive aspect, even on this small player versus AI scale. It sounds like this competitive nature will include potential friendly acts like trading, as well as the more expected stealing of colonists via attractive offerings. Narrative events will also be making an appearance, hopefully creating some varying storylines and emerging tales and gameplay for each playthrough.
Drove us to achieve so much in the face of adversity. And generations from now, our children will speak your names with a reverence reserved for our greatest heroes. And they will say, there were others who tried, but we did it best. And we did it first.
The Warhammer 40k universe is getting a new addition to its rather lackluster library of games, with the rather shiny-looking Mechanicus being released on November 15th. Developed by a very passionate team, it looks like we're seeing a game that finally cares about the source material as much as it does about making sales based on the license. Leading the Adeptus Mechanicus in a turn-based tactical game against the Necrons, you'll find yourself undergoing multiple long playthroughs to experience the multiple endings and partake in the variety of potential activities. Whether pious or heretical, you'll be able to upgrade your mechanized infantry as any true tech priest should be, and research new technologies and weapons to keep you at the cutting edge. Your HQ, which is a ship, will also be upgradable to allow for more decision-making and variant gameplay, while the tech priests themselves can also be leveled up in various ways to be used in various roles. Rather than simply slapping the license onto existing game mechanics, the developers here have really focused on translating the lore into a video game. Whether it's canticles or the highly calculated approaches of the Adeptus Mechanicus, there's going to be a lot of fun to be had here. Once again, there's plenty of coverage already on this channel that you might want to check out if you're intrigued by the potential that this game presents. Keep an eye out on this channel for even more information and a potential review in the coming weeks. Battletech, with all its mech-on-mech violence, is going to get a lot more gameplay with the upcoming release of the Flashpoint DLC on November 27th. This sounds like a great first piece of DLC, adding entirely new gameplay modes, entirely new mission types, and entirely new mechs into the mix. Take on unpaid jobs despite being a mercenary outfit on a sometimes tight budget. Partake in some light headhunting for your employers. Get involved in the new target acquisition mission types, forcing you to use mechs you'd otherwise ignored during the base game, especially later on. BattleTech has really grown out of its launch time woes of slow pace, and I've been having a great time with my Let's Plays since. With over 30 additional hours of content on top of procedurally generated missions, a new biome, and 3 new mechs, this is looking like a juicy first foray into DLC and makes the future of BattleTech shine quite bright. I'll definitely be checking it out as soon as I can. Battle Brothers, the fantastic turn-based tactical game set in a fantasy medieval world, gets its Beasts and Exploration DLC right at the end of November on the 29th. One can imagine this will bring many new beasts to deal with many new areas to explore, complete with unique mechanics and loot. Hidden locations for daring adventurers should hold interesting quests, and new events and ambitions should keep the story fresh and alive for those who have played their fill of the base game. New weapons, tools, and armor will add more gameplay variety, and new paints will allow you to paint shields and helms to match your company aesthetic, while slain beasts can be turned into trophies for various benefits. There looks to be some very interesting encounters waiting to happen, especially with the addition of 3 very large beasts protecting legendary locations. We've only been told of and shown the Kraken, and the other 2 will remain a secret for now. Beyond all the new equipment and quest types, I'm excited to see all the new mechanics that will come with these new beasts. The game is already very mechanically deep, and Beasts and Exploration is going to be a welcome addition, one that I look forward to exploring as soon as possible.
Mercenaries, each an expert for a different weapon. But as your ranks grow, so do your problems. One of your men, a drunkard, just lost his weapon. You have him flogged, so he never drinks again. But this leaves him bitter and frustrated. And then, a green-skin horde invades. As a tide of destruction sweeps over the land, there's good coin to be made for a mercenary company such as yours. Fame and fortune await.
And there you have it, that's the month to come in rapid form, at least in the world of strategy gaming, as far as my eyes could see. If you're looking forward to anything I missed, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, let me know which of these you're most excited for. And let me know if you'd like more of these monthly summaries. Apart from that, thank you all very much for watching. A massive thanks to all of my patrons and channel members for supporting the channel, and a big thanks to all the developers for setting up an exciting November. Till next time, cheers.